Alright, here we go. Welcome back to Lenz's Comic Corner Classic, Let's Known Classics. This is episode number 3383, Doubleshot number 3277. I got two Batman-related trades. First one is Red Hood Lost Days by Judd Winnick. Yeah, this miniseries... Oh, by the way, this is a new printing of the trade. The issues were released back in 2010 and 2011. So yeah, this came out just prior to New 52, like pretty much like not long before the relaunch is when this thing finally included. So pretty much basically, this is basically what Jason Todd was up to prior to, in a way, his return. His return is basically for Batman knows about his return. So we have jumping on the writing with Pablo Rami and Jeremy Hunt on the artwork. So, mostly put, the thing starts out with basically and basically throughout this, it starts up with Ra's and Talia, where Talia still has her feelings for Batman, and basically she's trying to take care of a revived Jason Todd, who is, according to Ra's, mute and somewhat brain dead, but he won't attack Talia for some reason. Well, I think because he knows Talia, but it's not really very clear. So throughout this, basically, Jason is retraining himself, but despite the fact that he doesn't fight back against Talia for some reason, and basically she comes very close to him, and then she proceeds to dip him in the Lazarus pit, ending issue 1. And he's gone crazy. Yep, he has gone crazy. And Roz finds out about the fact that Jason took a dip in the Lazarus pit, and Roz is not happy with that, because that's his thing. He likes doing the Lazarus pit. That's why I think gets insane. So he's in hiding, and we actually see him return briefly to the Gotham. We see the Batmobile in the, I kid you not, I believe this is the 1989 design appearing here. Not sure why you see him look at the Batmobile, and then we see Batman. I'm guessing, like, based on the suit, I'd say this is possibly before 1 year later. And he does witness, and of course he at one point attempts to plant a bomb underneath the Batmobile. Up close you can tell, yeah, it's 1989 Batmobile. But he doesn't. Nope. And then eventually Talia finds him after he slips away. And then he does more training. Yeah. And then Jason just does his own thing, just act like his own sole character, where he goes to Russia and fights people, still hangs out with Talia. And he's basically building up a lot of cred, basically. A lot of stuff you would see him do in Under the Hood. Basically, you see how he uses guns the first time and all this other stuff, and then in the penultimate issue, like, yeah, then he speaks Russian, like, oh yeah, we see this one person, like, oh, kill him, and then he beats up other people and threatens to kill others because he's different from Batman. So he goes to London, throws a bomb off a bridge, and then he just beats up more thugs because he wants to. And then with the last issue, this issue basically is like the explanation of a lot of stuff that happens throughout a couple major stories in Batman. So we have flashback to when Jason was Robin, which we get a few times in here. This is basically then you see him just building up more of his stuff he does. And then we see, like, him flashback when Joker beat the crap out of him. And then comes the most weirdest scene in the book. Talia proceeds to seduce Jason and has sex with him. Yes. A guy who is clearly younger than she is and could easily be a stepson to her. Nope. They decide, Joe Winnick decided to have these two sleep together. And then comes basically the last few pages, which sets up the events of Hush, where Jason meets Hush, and the Riddler apparently knows Bruce Wayne is Batman. And Hush asks the question. He claims that he's Batman. Batman's Bruce Wayne. Let me ask, is that true? Yes. Bruce Wayne is Batman. Can you prove it? Many times over. And then the book ends with him sharpening his knife and basically forming the hood he would use in Under Red Hood. I've heard this series has been somewhat mixed received. I don't think it's a terrible miniseries per se. I actually kind of enjoyed this per se. It does kind of fill a little gap between basically after Jason Todd died. They don't bring up the fact that, you see, it was explained, by the way, I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. It was explained, I come back to like the specific, he died. So, it was saying to Superboy Prime, punching the walls of reality, and Jason Todd dug himself out of his own grave, and that led into this. And then later on, we see what happens to him under a hood. Now, having Joe Winnick write this story, in my opinion, makes total sense because he actually wrote the Under the Hood. Originally the story was called Under the Hood. They retitled for the trade because of the movie Under the Red Hood. But makes total sense. And can you believe the last issue came out roughly 14 years ago? You're probably curious, was I start reading DC Comics at this point? I definitely was. I kind of knew about the series, but I didn't at that point, but I didn't read a little bit later. Yeah, but I did enjoy this one. Okay, so next up we have is Batman Brave and Bold Across the Universe. Let's collect stories from Batman Brave and Bold. This, of course, is Volume 2, issues 13 to 16. We have 3 different stories here. We have Down the Row, written by Tim Seeley, artwork by Kelly Jones. Yeah, this story is basically just Nightwing team up with Deadman, and somehow Nightwing can see Deadman in the story, and I think the reason why Tim Seeley probably had Kelly Jones with the artwork, because Kelly Jones did a really well-received miniseries of Deadman, so why not? Time Jerks. This one particularly is an interesting one. It's basically Booster Gold meets Jurassic League. And, like, he goes back and meet them, and then he goes back to present day where, because he actually hit a meteorite, dinosaurs are ruining, all humans were eliminated. Then he goes back, fence meteorite, and helps them out with the Justice League. And he kind of a team manager, but it's a really fun story. I'm surprised, basically, DC didn't have Dan Jurgens write the story because it's Booster Gold. Dan Jurgens always writes really good stories for Booster Gold. I'm surprised they had Mark Russell write the story, with artwork by John McKell. The Invader, Josh Rahel Filkoff on the writing with Lizardo Esron. This is a weird one. Yeah. Batman just randomly finds a UFO, contacts the Green Lantern, contacts Hal, and he sends Guy Gardner. And according to the species of the ship, the species is from the species who crashed the Roswell in 1947. Which they don't name the species, and it becomes a really weird story where Bat meets people, and they fix the ship, fix the radiation burns, and eventually Guy Gardner's memory is erased. And Guy's like, that reminds me of the old movies my dad showed me when I was a kid. It's like, and Batman's like, me too. And that's the issue. Interesting to only have 3 stories this time. Yeah, I was kind of surprised about that. Because the last one had multiple. And this had only 3. So, how much does this trade cover per se? I think 13 was also covered in the previous trade. Yes, I think it was the Artemis one. So this one covered, I think Perp Walk. I think, let me take a look here. Perp Walk. So Time Jerks takes place after Joystick number 6, obviously. So let's see here. I think that Perp Walk was collected in the I think it was collected in the previous trade here. Was Legends of Justice? Let's see. Perp Walk. No, was not collected in that one. And that was 10 and 13. So basically with this one, so the Artemis Poison Within was actually collected in Out of Darkness. No, it wasn't Out of Darkness. It was yeah, it was collected in Legends of Justice. Yeah, that's what that story was collected in. So 13 as of this point is mostly collected, but not fully collected. Yeah. So this one basically they covered the A story, B story, and the D story. For 14. 14 is basically, well, kind of similar with this one. Just 3 out of 5 stories. It doesn't collect the Flash story or the Evidence Remains. The Evidence Remains is a Batman story. Uh, 15 mostly put is just only 4 stories this one. Yes, this one collected the A, the B, and the C story. The D story, excuse me. And as for 16, 16 just collected the opening story. They're like, really? Just the opening story? Yeah, just the opening story. And can you believe this book lasted for 20 issues? Yeah, 20 issues, and the last issue just came out just like almost a year ago. Yes, but as of right now, throughout the 4 trades that have been released, well, the opening trade, the winning card, that collected the winning card story from issues 1, 2, 5, and 9. Out of Darkness, which was the first trade release in a year. This collected a little bit more. This collected stories from basically the first 9 issues. Issues, I'm going to think, okay, what about issues 1 and 2? 1 and 2, with this one, basically it's most of the trade. Most of the issue, just not the whole thing of it. Issue 3, well... Issue 3, well, let's see. Yeah, 3 is kind of the same thing where with this one it's like 3 out of 4 stories. 4, pretty much the same thing. A lot of these ones as of right now, it's collecting all but like 1 story-ish. And in the case of the opening like 12 issues, there is pretty much a black and white story that for some weird reason DC has not put in the trade paperback for some reason. Yeah, I don't really know exactly the reason for it. So it's like at this point we have like we have like 4 trades, and I'd say in the case of the what's been collected here, like I would say most of the stuff that's for the stories released in the first like 15 issues has been collected in Chain Hitback. I'm guessing that with the final trade. Now, the ultimate question is, are they going to release another one this year? I have honestly no idea if they are or not. Because, of course, basically, it's like, okay, we've released 4 trades so far, and we don't have, of the 20 issues that was released for this whole entire series, and you might ask the question, is there a full issue to collect these trades? No. No, there is not. I'm guessing probably the very next trade when it comes out, I'm hoping anyways it does this, I hope it collects the black and white stories. Which, if you're curious though, it goes on for, I think, like the first like 9-ish issues. I know it's not in 12. I know that for sure. Yeah. That's what I would suggest doing with the very next trade. Because with the previous trade here, like for issue 12, they only collected like Mother's Day, Poison Within. Yeah, they collected like just 2 stories. I'm guessing that I'm hoping the very next trade, whenever it does come out, I would just the first thing to do is collect all the black and white stories from the first 11 issues, and then just start collecting the stuff skipped, like these short stories like Left Unsaid, Parting Gift, Henchman. That's issue 12. I would also collect Perp Walk. Yeah, I would have basically the very next trade collect a bunch of short stories. So, the ultimate question for this trade series is like, how many more we probably get this week? Given how much is left to go, I'm guessing probably 2 at most. Yeah. But that's pretty much it. I'm going to get this one roughly a 9 out of 10. It's a very interesting one. No really bad story this one, surprisingly. They're all really interesting. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up, Camp for Cooking of the World. Okay, next video. Bye.